Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a story that will make you double-check your locks and maybe even sleep with the lights on. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying things are the ones closest to home. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's dive in. It was a Tuesday night, just like any other. Rain was lashing against the windows, and the wind howled a lonely song. Liam was settled on his couch, lost in the blue glow of a movie, when his phone buzzed. A single, short message from his girlfriend, Clara. "I'm outside. Come quick." His heart did a little flip. He wasn't expecting her. A smile spread across his face as he imagined her standing on his porch, soaked but smiling, ready for a surprise movie night. He jumped up from the couch, practically jogging to the front door. His mind already picturing her teasing him for taking so long. He swung the door open, a cheerful, "What are you doing here?" ready on his lips. But the words died in his throat. The porch was empty. Drain swept across the wooden planks, glistening under the dim porch light. There was no one there, not a soul. Just the wind and the rain and the lonely, empty street. Confusion turned to a knot of unease in his stomach. Maybe she was playing a joke. Hiding behind the bushes. "Clara," he called out, his voice sounding small against the storm. "This isn't funny." Silence was his only reply. A shiver, not entirely from the cold, ran down his spine. This felt wrong. He pulled his phone out, his thumb hovering over her contact. Something was definitely wrong. He pressed the call button, his heart thumping a frantic rhythm against his ribs. It rang once, twice. Then, an unfamiliar click. A voice answered, but it wasn't Clara's. It was a man's voice, low and cold, completely devoid of emotion. "She can't talk right now." Ice flooded Liam's veins. "Who is this? Where's Clara? What have you done with her?" The questions tumbled out, laced with a rising panic. The voice on the other end simply chuckled, a dry, rasping sound that made the hair on Liam's arms stand up. Then, the line went dead. Panic, pure and absolute, seized him. His mind raced, a chaotic whirlwind of terrible possibilities. He tried calling again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the phone. "Think, Liam, think." Then, an idea sparked through the fog of his fear. The location-sharing app. They always had it on, a small comfort in a big city. With trembling fingers, he opened the app. His breath hitched. The map loaded, showing a familiar layout, a familiar blue dot pulsing steadily. But it wasn't at a bar downtown, or a friend's apartment across the city. The blue dot, Clara's dot, was right here. It was inside his own house. Thorm nearly slipped from his grasp. This was impossible. He'd just been at the door. He'd looked. He would have seen her. He would have heard her. How could she be inside? The cold voice on the phone echoed in his head. "She can't talk right now." Was the man with the voice in here too? Every shadow in his house suddenly seemed to lengthen, to twist into menacing shapes. The familiar comfort of his home had evaporated, replaced by a suffocating dread. The floorboards above him creaked. Usually, he'd dismiss it as the old house settling. Tonight, it sounded like a footstep, a slow, deliberate footstep. He had to go up there. Grabbing the heaviest thing he could find, Castile skillet from the kitchen, he started for the stairs. Each step was a monumental effort. His own breathing was loud in his ears, a frantic counterpoint to the storm raging outside. The hallway upstairs was dark, a gaping maw of blackness. He crept forward, his knuckles white around the handle of the skillet, his heart pounding a desperate drum solo. As he neared his bedroom, a sliver of light appeared under the door. Then, with a soft click, the light flickered on fully. He hadn't turned it on. He was sure of it. He froze, his blood running cold. Someone was in his room. Taking a deep, ragged breath, he pushed the door open. The room was empty. His bed was neatly made, just as he'd left it this morning. Everything was in its place. Everything except for one thing. There, sitting perfectly in the center of his pillow, was a phone. Clara's phone. He took a hesitant step into the room, his eyes locked on the device. How? How did it get here? He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched the screen. It was still warm, as if someone had just been holding it. And as his finger made contact, the screen lit up. A new message was appearing, typed out letter by agonizing letter. Liam watched, paralyzed, as the words formed, a final, horrifying revelation that shattered the last of his sanity. The message read, "Now I'm inside too. Thank you so much for watching." I hope that story sent a shiver down your spine. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next dive into the darkness. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video, where, when Sarah signed the lease, she thought she'd found the perfect apartment. It was cozy, affordable, and in a quiet neighborhood. The first week was bliss. The second week, things started to get strange. It began subtly. A faint sound, like someone whispering, just on the edge of her hearing. It always happened at the same time. 3:07 in the morning. She'd wake up, heart pounding, listening. But the sound would be gone as quickly as it came. It's just the neighbors, she told herself, trying to rationalize the unease settling in her chest. The walls in these old buildings are paper-thin, after all. But after a few more nights of the same haunting whisper, always at 3:07 a.m., her curiosity turned into a knot of anxiety. She decided she had to ask. The next day, she saw her neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Gable, tending to her flower boxes in the hallway. Sarah put on her friendliest smile. "Hi! I just moved in next door. I was wondering, have I been making too much noise?" "I'm still trying to get settled." Mrs. Gable looked at her, a little confused. "Oh, no, dear. You're quiet as a mouse." Sorry, hesitated, then decided to be direct. "Whoa, it's just ... I sometimes hear noises late at night. Like talking. From your apartment." A strange look crossed Mrs. Gable's face. It wasn't annoyance. It was something closer to pity. "Honey," she said, her voice dropping low. "The apartment on the other side of you. The one you share that big wall with? It's been empty for years. Ever since the last tenant." She trailed off, shaking her head. "Well, it's been empty a long, long time." That night, sleep didn't come easily. Sarah lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her ears straining for any sound. The digital clock on her nightstand glowed, its red numbers ticking closer to the dreaded time. Las 3:05. Las 3:06. And then, right on cue, at 3:07 a.m. The whisper started. This time, it felt closer, clearer. Twos. A soft, sibilant hiss. A string of words she couldn't quite make out, but the tone sent a shiver down her spine. It sounded lonely, desperate. Fear gave way to a reckless kind of bravery. She couldn't live like this, jumping at shadows in her own home. She got out of bed, her feet cold on the hardwood floor, and crept towards the wall Mrs. Gable had mentioned. The whispering seemed to emanate directly from it. Taking a deep breath, Sarah pressed her ear against the cool, smooth plaster. The sound was much louder now, a constant, chilling murmur. And then, through the static of her own racing heartbeat, one word cut through the noise, as clear as if it was spoken right next to her. Sarah. Ice flooded her veins. It knew her name. How could it possibly know her name? A wave of pure terror washed over her, but it was quickly replaced by a surge of anger. This was her apartment. Her home. Who are you? She yelled at the wall, her voice trembling but loud. What do you want? The silence that followed was heavy, absolute. For a moment, she thought maybe she had imagined it all. That she was finally losing her mind. Then, the whisper came again. It wasn't from the wall this time. It was from right behind her. The same cold, ethereal voice, now filled with a chilling, triumphant hiss. Look behind you. Her blood ran cold. Every horror movie trope she'd ever scoffed at flashed through her mind. This couldn't be real. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. She didn't want to turn. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to flee the apartment and never look back. But she was frozen, pinned in place by a force stronger than her own will. Slowly, mechanically, as if her body was no longer her own, she began to turn. Her eyes scanned the familiar room, her unmade bed, the pile of clothes on a chair, the window showing the dark city outside. Nothing was out of place. A hysterical laugh bubbled in her throat. Was this some kind of sick joke? Was she hallucinating? Her gaze finally fell upon the wall opposite the one she had been listening to. The wall right behind where she had been standing, and she screamed. There, on the clean, white paint, was a handprint. It was dark, stark against the white. But it wasn't made of paint or ink. It was wet, glistening under the dim light from her bedside lamp. It was a deep, horrifying crimson. It was a handprint made of fresh blood, still slowly, impossibly, dripping down her wall. It hadn't been there a minute ago. She was sure of it. She was the only one in the apartment. Panic finally broke her paralysis. Sarah scrambled for her phone, her fingers fumbling with the screen. She had to call someone. The police. Her parents. Anyone. But as she looked at the bloody handprint, a new, more terrifying thought took root. The handprint was on the inside of a locked apartment. Whatever had made it was in here with her. And it knew her name. She backed away, her eyes fixed on the dripping handprint, until her back hit the opposite wall-to-whispering wall. Soon as her skin touched the plaster, the whispering started again. But this time it was different. It wasn't just in her ear. It was all around her, inside her head. A chorus of voices, all murmuring at once. And amidst the cacophony, a new sound emerged. A slow, rhythmic scratching. It was coming from inside the wall. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was the sound of fingernails dragging against wood. Or plaster, or something else. Something trying to get out. Sarah finally understood. The whisper wasn't a ghost in the next apartment. It was a ghost in her wall. And it didn't want to just talk. It wanted to be let out. The bloody handprint wasn't a warning. It was a sign. A sign of what it was capable of. A sign of its presence, right there with her. She stared at the wall, her mind reeling. Who was buried in there? And what did they want with her? The scratching grew louder, more frantic. The whispers intensified, coalescing into a single, desperate plea that echoed in her skull. Let me out, Sarah. Let me out. Thanks so much for watching. If this story gave you the chills, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more terrifying tailies. Let me know in the comments what you would have done in Sarah's situation. Stay safe and see you next time.